him in Trenton. Here you go. Mr. Bill Vaughan has his dog Crash here today, boys and girls. And we're going to make sure that our voices are put away so everyone can hear Mr. Vaughan speak to us. We are very lucky that they've agreed to come to our school. And Mr. Vaughan is going to tell you a little bit about Crash and what he does. Let's give Mr. Vaughan and Crash a big hand.
Good morning. Can everyone hear me? Where's Bella? Bella, where's she at? There she is. She knows Crash. Don't you, sis? Yes. Okay, well, let's talk about Crash for a minute. I got Crash when he was 4.5 weeks old. He came from the Harmon Ranch in Vaughan, Oklahoma. Now, I trained his daddy, and when I got finished with his dad, I knew that they were going to have a litter of pups, so I thought, I'll just get one of them dogs. So I did. He had his first meal at 4.5 weeks old, so I took him home. We've been together since then. So, his name's Crash is kind of an odd name. So we'll get to that. When he was 5.5 weeks old, I was teaching him how to retrieve the ball on the floor. And he was getting along pretty good. He was understanding. When he was 10 weeks old, he hadn't had a name yet. So I would roll the ball down the hallway, and when the ball would hit the wall, so would he. My little boy would say, "Daddy, he keeps crashing." So I kept rolling it, and my son backed his bicycle out of the bedroom into the hallway, and the ball went through the spokes, and so he crashed. So he got a little head hung up. So my son said, "Dad, that's it. That's his name. His name's Crash." I like to give the dog a name if they earn it, so he earned his name Crash. Okay? So by the time Crash was a year old, he had a full-time job working on the ranch. But to add to that, he grew up sitting in the saddle. The reason for that is because there was going to be days and I'd be day working on a different ranch. And sometimes we had to travel long distances across the pastures to get to the cattle. So I didn't want him to be tired when he got there. So he would ride in the saddle a mile or 2 miles, however long it took. And when he got there, then he was fresh and ready to go. He wasn't tired. He would go to work. Everyone understand that? Okay. So when he was about 2.5 years old, a friend of mine said, "Hey, can you train Crash for narcotics?" Because I had other canines that didn't belong to me. They were trained in narcotics, but I couldn't use them. One, they weren't certified yet. Two, they didn't belong to me. Okay? They didn't belong to another state, but I was training. So I trained Crash for narcotics for the highway patrol, and we used him also for the DEA from time to time to look for narcotics. Okay? So from there, I put him on tracking. You know what tracking is? That's where if one of you little kids get lost, we'll give him your scent, and he'll track you down and find you so we can bring you home. All right? Everyone understand that? Okay. And from there, we put him on cadaver search. And what cadaver search is, like when these tornadoes come through and they destroy neighborhoods, sometimes some of our friends don't survive that. So search and rescue dogs come in, and they locate the people that we lost. Okay? Everyone understand that? Okay. Are you keeping up with all this training? Okay. We got cattle, we got narcotics, we got tracking, we got cadaver. Okay? And a friend of mine, which is a game ranger in Vaughan County and one over Bonita, Oklahoma, they called me and said, "Hey, can you put Crash on spent shells?" Because whenever they would catch someone poaching deer out of season, they wanted to find those shells that came out of their gun after they fired the gun. I said, "Okay." caused me some difficulties physically. And I'm doing a lot better than what I was. I didn't have any balance. I couldn't bend over and pick something up. I still have problems from time to time. So I needed some help. I needed a service dog to help me out, guide me, and when I would stumble, he would stop and pull me back to the left. Because I would always go to the right when I would lose my balance. He would pick up anything I would drop. But all through his training, raising him up and growing up, I taught him to retrieve anything that I put on the ground. Even a pair of pliers or a screwdriver. Didn't matter. So, how many things has he been trained to do now? 6. Here we go. We're quick on the gun over there. Okay? Alright, so that's 6. Now, when Crash would lay and watch me train canines as a young boy, I taught those dogs to understand different languages. So that no one can tell that canine what to do other than the law enforcement officer that has that canine. Okay? He's the only one that can speak to it. So he would lay and watch me train all these dogs in these different languages. And on his own, he learned Dutch, German, and Brazilian. Okay? And there's 15 commands in each one of those. I can't hear you back. No, he will not bite you or scratch you. He might lug you to death. He wouldn't hurt you at all. So there's 15 commands in each one of those languages. So altogether, from everything that you learn, from cattle, narcotics, opening and closing doors, he had the capability of understanding 195 commands, which is quite a bit. Now, as a professional trainer, we all try to find that one ultimate dog that's going to be able to impress us and learn and never quit learning. And some of us never get one. Okay? But I got one. I'll never have another one in my life. They only come around once in your life, if you're lucky. So this is the one. I'll never have another one like this. I might get close, but I'll never have one like this. Now, in 2011, Crash was inducted into the Oklahoma Canine Hall of Fame. The reason for that is there was 3 occasions through the course of our life together that he saved my life. The first time was in 2000. The ceiling in our cabin caught on fire due to the wood stove. And he jumped up on me and woke me up to let me know that the fire was on the ceiling. So I got the sun out of the house, I got the fire put out, and then later that summer, I was working on a ranch out west of town that I'd been on for several years. I had a cow that was limping. She had a sore foot, so I had to get her up in the barn and doctor her. And when I got her through the doctor, I crashed her and put her back out in the pasture. And I was looking at the calves that I had in the pen that I was fattening so that we could eventually butcher them to eat. Well, she kind of had an attitude. So before I realized it, she'd come back out of the pasture looking for me. Now, Crash was on the north side of the barn chasing rabbits in the pipe. It was kind of a ritual. But anyways, that old cow, she got me down on the ground and she was hurting. And the next thing I know, there's something else on top of it. And it's this gentleman. He got her off of me. She intended to hurt me, and she did. It took me a couple weeks before I get back in the saddle again. But he stopped me. He ended it. He saved me from getting really injured bad. Okay? There was another time when he saved me from being injured too awful bad, and that's when I had a brain injury. I don't want to discuss that, but 3 times in our career together, he saved me. Now, if you get you a puppy and you love it, you feed it, you take care of it, they'll give you unconditional love just as your mom and daddy do. Does everyone believe that? Y'all have any puppies at home? They love you? Now, let me have your attention. Now, there's an organization called American Humane Association, and this is the only organization in the United States that rescues animals, cats, dogs, horses, cattle, pigs that are being abused. But they also rescue babies, such as yourselves, that have been abused. Okay? It's the only organization in the United States that does it. It's called the American Humane Association. And this is the second year that they've had this award that they're giving out, and it's called the Hero Dog Award. Now, the dog that wins this award is the Hero Dog of the Year for the United States. Okay? Everyone follow that? So far, this is the only gentleman that's nominated for the state of Oklahoma. So if he wins the award, then he wins the award for all you kids in the entire state of Oklahoma. Okay? So if he wins it, he'll wear it proud. This is you wearing this medal right here somewhere. There you go. Now, his most favorite thing to do, he doesn't do it anymore. Now, Crash is sick. He's real sick. Okay? And I probably won't have him for just maybe 4 or 5 more months. But his most favorite thing to do ever is to play ball with kids. Now there's been countless times through the years that little kids would come up and say, "Billy, Tom, can you put Crash up? Because he's really making us tired." He didn't want to quit playing ball, but the kid did. Alright? That's his favorite thing to do, to play with kids. Now, I didn't teach him this, but he would protect a young child or a woman on his own from harm if he didn't know. That's just the way it is. But that's the English Shepherd, and this is an English Shepherd breed. Okay? They kind of look like a Border Collie in a way, don't they? Yeah, this is an English Shepherd. So, any questions? What do they want to go about? Pulled off, got them in the pen, they're behind the barn. So I had one young he threw the bull to the ground and held on to that bull's nose. So I built off the horse, I run up here, and I got Crash taking legs up, and I got the loop on my rope over Crash, and I got on that bull's neck and I snatched the slack out of that loop, and I got back on the horse and got me a bell and called him off. The bull led him off the ground, shook off the dust, and turned around and walked in his hand. I mean, we could have done that, an hour ago. But it took him to get the point across. So, well, I think I'm about out of time, guys. I'm just glad I could be here today and share this praise animal with you guys. Now, if you see us in public, don't hesitate to say hi to Crash, all right? You're welcome to do that anytime. All right? Thanks for having us here today.
Okay, one more time. Let's raise the roof for Mr. Vaughan and Crash. Okay, awesome job. Boys and girls, right now, I want to talk to you about our accelerated reading goal. Listen up. Boy, do we have a party planned. We are going to have an awesome AR party on May 16th if we meet our goal. And you don't get to go to the party unless you have read 25 books this year and passed those. We've been talking to you all year long about how important reading is, and we've been talking to you about getting your points and reading those AR books, right, girls? So, I'm going to tell you where we're at. Our goal is 12,300 books for the year. As of right now, we have read, as a school, 1st through 5th grade, 9,642 books, and you've passed all of those. So give yourself a pat on the back. Great job. Boys and girls, that means we still need to read by the end of April. We're not counting May because we have to plan for the party. So you have 2 weeks until spring break, and then a week after in March, as well as the month of May. We need 2,658 books read. And we have to have those tests passed with 80% or higher. So please make sure you're reading because we have a lot of great things in store for you. I talked to the Fundraising Works gentleman, and he said yes, he would bring 4 of his inflatables. So we need to make sure that we are reading, okay? Okay, right now I have perfect attendance. When I call your name, please come up and get yourself a Sonic coupon. We will not clap for anyone until after it's over. Okay, Jaden Truitt in Mrs. Herring's class, Dakota Whitson in Miss Hines' class, Erica Dillon in Mrs. Sloan's class, Allie Donovan in Mrs. Williams' class, Savannah English in Mrs. Lloyd's class, Lillian Harris in Mrs. Schaefer's class, Billy Lindgren in Miss Moody's class, Brianna McDaniel in Mrs. Alexander's class, Caitlin Parker in Mrs. Ady's class, Keely and Rubel, Mrs. Schaefer's class, Bijou Smith, Miss Beffer's class, Brooke Smith in Mrs. Cole's class, Kyle Swan in Mrs. Newland's class, Allison Williams in Mrs. Feeler's class, Dietrich Wilson in Mrs. Williams' class, and Neely Wilson in Mrs. Hardy's class. a fantastic